So good morning, and this is, I think, the beginning of like a new format change I'm going to aspire to and commit to for a little bit. You can hear the dogs barking probably, but this is maybe old me in what will be the video that I've coming out. Caleb and I's actual anniversary, the real one, not the fake one, that we've talked about is coming up, and I like to get creative about we do that cheesy every year what the gift is for marriage, but I like to pair it with the timeline of how long we've been together. So it's now 9 years and 4 years, and or 10 years and 4 years maybe. So I am going to explore with that this morning, and let's maybe see what that is. I always try to blend the two, and maybe Caleb would enjoy this. That might be very becoming for him. Alright, but what I am actually looking for is something like this. EternityRose.com.au sounds reliable. Fourth traditional year is linen or silk. Oh, for the UK. Fruits and flowers. Oh, that's cute. I can't remember. I think this is quite possibly our 10th holiday season together. I think it's the 9th though, which means, so it's leather for the modern, sort of like the fake anniversary side that I've talked about. So like last year I got to blend the two, and I forget how I rationalized it. Linen and lace, and then what was last year? Linen and lace and leather. And I ended up getting him this really nice belt that had this engraving on it that I had done in sort of like this. My thought behind it was it looked like it was a script that you would see like on a doily, which sounds ridiculous, but it was like a really nice belt. And so I like to try and blend these two themes. But what is the fourth year? Flowers or fruit and leather? I could get him some fruit roll-ups, and it would be like a funny blend of the two. Fruit leather, get it? But I am going to have to think about this. But I've got a helper. Yeah, so I've got to think about how I want to approach this series, since I normally go sentimental, or I'm going to write that card anyway. That's going to have lots of feelings and thoughts and blah, blah, blah. And so maybe I just go with something a little funny. I don't know. I like tangible things that you can practically use. That's the kind of gift giving I do. And maybe I need to dial into a little bit more of Caleb's approach, that gifts can be all kinds of things, not just practical things. But I think, yeah. So I've got some thinking to do. I'm going to sleep on it. tonight. I've been sort of dawdling on this. I kept forgetting to circle back. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to look up this list, and now I've looked it up. So, yeah. So, I want to just take a minute and talk about another aspect of our anniversary that is something that I have to be mindful of, and it does relate to mental health, and I'll just try to streamline this as best as possible. But Caleb and I had been together for many years, and I think at first in our relationship I needed the definition of like marriage, and I had been to all these rallies and attended these fundraisers and donated to these causes and marched in parades for marriage equality. It was one of the first causes that really got me politically engaged in the early 2000s, when it was really building some initial mainstream momentum. And it felt like that was the thing that I needed or wanted. And over the years, because I was struggling a little bit, there was like this dichotomy of wanting to celebrate with a lot of people and wanting a big to-do, and then also like the anxiety around actually doing it. and we lived in a type of a situation for the beginning part of our years where we were just trying to establish ourselves and put down roots somewhere. And so a lot of that got pushed off for a while. And then eventually I came to realize that it wasn't something that I necessarily needed, and every time we had made a decision that affected both of us, we always made a point to make sure that the other one was protected or thought about or included, and which was really, it became something that I didn't really put a whole lot of weight on after a while, until I did put weight on it when Caleb decided that it was just time. Let's just do it real quick and small, and we don't even have to have anybody else except for a justice of the peace. And that was sort of okay with me. I was a little disappointed because I had written music to play at a wedding, and in my mind I imagined at least some sort of celebration with some type of defined group of people, but it was what Caleb wanted and what he was comfortable with, and it's just what we did. And and even on this particular today is our anniversary. Even on this day, what was I saying? Oh, today on our actual anniversary is something that even on this day, it was one of those things where I was sitting there and I had like mentally already thought of the vows that I wanted to share, and I have to switch hands. I thought of the vows that I wanted to share and all of that kind of stuff, and I knew I had obviously long ago just like knew where or what I wanted long term with Caleb, and how special and how deep everything really was for me. And I've like long felt that, and sometimes I have a hard time letting myself receive it. But what I wasn't expecting was, I think part of me was like, oh, finally, here's like a defining moment where I will be able to let myself receive it. And that day came and went, and it was lovely. It was really special. And but like later in the day, it was just like a regular day for us. And that in itself seemed to define a little bit of you know, it was like very much like an us thing. And I will say that I put what I wasn't expecting was like anxiety around the day. And I started experiencing things like, here's like a day that somebody can reassess like whether I'm worth it, whether the vows are worth it, whether the goals and the planning and the long-term investment was worth it, whether I am a worthy individual just in my own as an entity. And our first anniversary came, and I was rather blue, and I had sort of worked myself up in a way around this where I was having some sleep issues, and I barely was able to put myself together enough to go. And we had this conversation of, you know, he wanted to do these anniversary gifts every year, as cliche as they are, and I love that kind of stuff, and I was surprised that he was on board with it. I know it's something that he wanted in the way we celebrate our relationship and our commitment to each other. And we ended up having one of those conversations that shifted focus. And, you know, when you grow together, it's incremental little changes over a period of time. And sometimes conversations can have a little bit of like a bigger shift. And that's what this was for me. And it felt much easier after that conversation to, you know, bully the pulpit in a way that I could go up and use my inner monologue to shift a little bit of like where I needed to be and how I needed to be. And so for our second anniversary, it was a little bit of like a bigger to-do, and I hand wrote out my card, which I do every year regardless. But Caleb then also gifted me this card, which it was hard to push myself in a way to show up when I was struggling so hard, but I also knew that it somehow was easier to show up in a capacity when it was for somebody else. And who better else than my husband, right? And so he began a shift of receiving gifts that became a little bit easier for me on our second anniversary. And it's like the small stuff that's very sentimental. And I think I've addressed this actually in one of my other vlog postings of, it was this card where like Snoopy's writing on the outside, and on the inside it simply just states the best part about our story is that it has no ending. And it was one of those things that you read and it gave you goosebumps because you just felt it in like another plane, like another energy plane. So very long story short, our anniversary has become something that's very special to me in a lot of different reasons. But also it's one of those pivotal moments where I think of my mental health where I have been able to like let go of some of those fears that, you know, not worthy enough, or he's not going to come home one day, or I'm going to be left abandoned, or emotionally just dumped spontaneously. And even with that second anniversary, it then segued into a very wonderful and blissful winter celebration season. And sorry, there was a truck and I forget what I was talking about, but I think I was reflecting on the growth between our first anniversary to our second anniversary, and how that then segued into this wonderful winter time where we were able to just be freer and grow together. We went to like Dave and Buster's and we just had a good time. It felt like a first authentic date where I was like in the present moment that I haven't had in a while. And we shared with visiting family and skiing, and we went went to a comedy show and an a cappella show, and it was just nice. And yeah, so every year we have the goal to go back to the same restaurant, and at some point in the day I normally put on like this zipper hoodie that I wore with the Justice of the Peace, and it just makes me feel good. It makes me, yeah, so I look forward to like those like little things. And yeah, so I wonder how this is gonna edit down. It's 12 minutes, I gotta cut this down, but yeah, today's a good day. I don't know how loud this is, but our wood is super wet and it is hissing like crazy. But that's the blend of fire and water, right? Yeah, so leaving 4 columns this evening, freak little dusting of snow. And I feel good being able to, yeah, just embrace the love that today has been built on, and that it stands for and is. And yeah, so I've talked about the fake anniversary. Today is obviously the real one. So I think that's it. I'm feeling a little awkward because with my new format, I feel like there's like this pivotal point to share something, and vlogging is just sort of sharing. So yeah, remember to continue to grow from where you are, and I will share more with you soon. Tschüss.